In this video, we take a look at walking through another object-oriented programming question from the paper for exam that's coming up towards the end of May, and you can never have enough practice. So let's take a look at this problem and let's walk through it. So this is from a past exam. A computer program is being developed that uses a set of cards. The program is written using object-oriented programming. The program has two classes, card and hand. The methods and attributes of these classes are shown. So we have card with two attributes, number and color. Number is an integer. It's going to store the card number from 1 to 5 inclusive. So that means we're going to include number 1 on the low end, number 5 on the high end. Color is going to be a string, stores the card color, red, blue, or yellow. We have the constructor, which is going to construct the object. Notice it takes number and color as parameters. It's very important we know that what the constructor is doing, because that is how we're going to get full points for the constructor. We have two get methods, get number, get color. Looking at the hand class, we're going to have cards as an array from 0 to 9. So that's going to be 10 cards of data type card. So we're going to create an array of objects here. We're going to have first card, which stores the position of the first card in the hand, and then number cards, which is also an integer, the number of cards the player is currently holding. Its constructor takes 5 card objects as parameters, assigns each card to the array cards, initializes first card to 0, number cards to 5, and then one get method. So let's go ahead and let's start walking through this problem and get as many points as possible. And by as many points as possible, I mean every single point. All right, so question 2A. So write the program code to declare the class card, its attributes, and its constructor. So right here, we have all the information they have given us. It says do not write program code for the get methods. That's great news, because now they're going to give us points later on when we have to write the get methods. Use your programming language appropriate constructor. So we're going to be doing this in VB. So our constructor is going to be sub new. If you're doing it in Java, it's going to be the name of the class, which in this case is card. So it says all attributes must be private. I don't know what else they would really be. So save your program as question 2 in 22. Copy and paste the program into part 2A1 in the evidence document. Let's swing over and let's code this out. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create that public class. We're going to call it card because they told us what it was called. And then we're going to do private number. That's going to be an integer. And then they said the color was going to be a string. So all the information we needed was given to us. We're going to use that constructor, public sub new. And when you don't have anything in the parentheses, this is what we call a default constructor. The default constructor doesn't exist in this class card because it says it takes parameters, and that means there's going to be something in the parentheses that we're going to accept, and we're going to assign it to those attributes. So the first one is going to be number. I'm going to accept that as in, and that's going to be an integer. And then I'm going to do C, that's a string, and that is for color. All I need to do now is assign in to number, and to color, I need to assign C. And just like that, we have picked up 5 points for this object-oriented programming question and 5 points towards our paper 4 exam. Let's take a look at the next part of the question. All right, part 2 says write program code for the class methods get number and get color. Copy and paste the program code into part 2A2 in the evidence document. This is worth 3 points to write these get methods, and they're very simple lines of code. So let's flip over and let's pick up those 3 points. So when you have get methods, it doesn't accept any parameters. Those are set methods. Get methods do return a value. So all we're going to do is we're going to do a public function, and we're going to do get number. And it doesn't accept any parameters. And then all we simply do is we return number. That's it. And then we do the exact same thing for color, public function, except for instead of calling it get number, call it get color. I'm going to spell it like Cambridge does there. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to return the color. And just like that, we have our get methods, and we picked up another easy 3 points. Let's take a look at the next part of the question and work towards our way of getting full points for this question. The program is tested with the following cards, and they have a slew of cards they want us to use. Looks like we have about 15 cards here. Write program code to declare each of these cards as a variable of type card in the main program. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create some objects, and because it says part of our main program, this means we're going to move outside of the class into our main class and into our main sub or main method here. So let's swing over and let's type all this code. So we're going to go ahead and create these objects. We do this inside of our main method of our outside the card class. So what we're going to do is we're going to dim the first card, which was red. The first card is red. The second card is red. There's 5 red cards. There's 5 blue cards, 5 yellow cards. So we're going to do dim red 1. And this is going to be new card. And when you use the word new, what you're doing is you're calling that constructor. That's why VB has its constructor as new. It lets you know, okay, you're going to call that constructor. Now, our constructor accepted 2 parameters. The first one was the number. The second one was a string, which is red. So we're going to do that. So we're going to do it again for red 2 as new card. Turn my caps lock off. And this is all you're going to do. And this is easy points here. You're just creating some objects. You're not even doing anything with them just yet. It is a little tedious to type in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to fast forward because you don't need to see me type in all 15 cards. Because if you can dim a red card, you can do the same thing with blue, yellow. So let's fast forward and see that being done. All 15 cards are done. We have our 5 red cards, we have our 5 blue cards, and we have our 5 yellow cards. I definitely went back, double checked, make sure I had all 15 that I need. You need to make sure when you're typing this many lines of code, 15, which is kind of a lot for one question, just go back and make sure that you have everything you need. You don't want to, find yourself, 20 minutes later into the question and realize you forgot to do something, then have to go back and try to figure it out. So just make sure to double check and make sure you have everything. Let's go ahead and let's jump ahead to the next part of the question and earn even more points. Write program code to declare the class hand, its attributes, and constructors. So we've already done card. Now they want us to do hand, and they're going to give us 6 points for this. It says, do not write the get methods. Use your programming language appropriate constructors. So just like we write any class. And then part 2 says, the get method, get card, takes an index as a parameter and returns the card stored at that index in the array. Write program code for the method get card. It's very interesting they use a parameter for the get card. Usually when you have get methods, they don't accept a parameter while set methods do. It looks like they skipped the set method part and they want get method to take a parameter. That's fine. That's nothing we can't handle, even though that's something we don't do normally. You'll be able to adapt to any situation. You guys have come a long way. I do believe in you, all of you who have been following us on this channel throughout the year and recently getting ready for this paper for exam. But enough of that. Let's switch over to our code and let's code these points out and get 8 points towards our exam. Before we start writing this code, let's take a look back at the directions so we know what to write in this class. Let's go ahead and take a look at that now. Now that we know what we're looking for, we can go ahead and we can code it out. So all we're going to do is we're going to do public class again. And this time we're going to do hand because, well, that's the class that we're writing. We need cards. And we're going to do 9 as new. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to do that as card. Usually, we're creating objects when we're using another class. Not this time, it's going to be an attribute. We're going to do the first card. That's going to be an integer. And then we are going to do the number cards as integer. All that was in the directions. Now that we have that, all we need to do is we need to create our constructor, public sub new. And it takes some parameters. Now, something that is not usually done is you're not taking data or passing a parameter with a data type of another class. It doesn't matter. It works exactly the same way. So we're going to do by val c1 as card. That is the data type. We know that because we declared cards as card down here. So our class is a data type for objects. So I'm going to do C2 as card. I'm going to do the same thing for C3. The same thing for C4. And then for the last part, C5. Perfect. And now that we've done that, we need to assign to all of these to the values. Now, it did say to create an index with a lower bound of 0, an upper bound of 9. That's what that 0:9 means when it talked about in the array in the directions. So we have to use index 0. So all we're going to do is we're going to do cards 0, and that is going to equal C1. We're going to do cards 1. That's going to equal C2. Cards 2 equals C3. Cards 3, that's going to be C4. And my fifth card is going to be an index 4, C5. Just make sure you're using index 0. It also said we're going to initialize first card to 0. And the number of cards that we have is going to be 5. And just like that, we have picked up 6 points for just doing that, even if we don't do anything else. But of course, we're not going to stop there. We're going to get as many points as we can. How many is as many as we can? It's all of them, because we're not going for an E, a D, or a C. We're going for B's, A's, and even A prime. So let's go ahead and let's pick up the next part, which is the get method. Now, for the get method, this one's a little interesting because you do something you do not usually do. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be writing a get method that accepts a parameter. So what we're going to do is we're going to do public function, and we want to get the card. Now, it does accept a parameter, so we're going to do by val. We're going to do p as integer because we need to know the position that it is. And all we're doing is we're returning cards, and that is going to be p, which is the position of the card. If we want to type in position, we can, but we need to know where we are. And just like that, actually, let me look back because it may give us the parameter, takes an index as parameter and turns to card. Okay, so that's fine. We can leave it as p. If it gives us the name of a parameter, we must do that. But p for position will work out just fine. All right, let's take a look at the next question and keep racking up those points. To be part 3, 2 players are declared with 5 cards each. Well, they have to be because our constructor takes 5 parameters, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 that we just wrote. Player 1 has the cards 1 red, 2 red, 3 red, 4 red, 1 yellow. Player 2 has the cards 2 yellow, 3 yellow, 4 yellow, 5 yellow, 1 blue. Write program code to declare player 1 and player 2 as objects of type hand with the cards indicated. Not a problem. Let's go ahead, swing over, and let's pick up those 2 points. All right, so we're inside our submain outside of our classes. So we're right where we made all the cards. And what we're going to do is we're going to do player 1, and that's going to be new hand. Now, player 1 has 5 cards, so does player 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to do player 2 as new hand as well. I'm going to fix that L. It'll fix it for me, but if I'm in another language, I definitely want to make sure it's typed correctly. Now, when we look at this, we know, like, for example, blue 1. That is 1 followed by blue. So when we pass up these cards, that constructor will be handled. So all we're going to do is we're going to do, he has, let's see here, 1 red, 2 red, 3 red. That's what the instruction said. I wrote my objects as red 1, red 2, red 3. So I need to make sure that I do that. So I'm going to do, he has red 1, he has red 2, he has red 3, he also has red 4, and the last card he has is yellow 1. There we go. And just like that, those are the 5 parameters he has. Player 2 has yellow 2, he has yellow 3, he has yellow 4, he has yellow 5, and the last card he had was blue 1. When you're any question where you have to pass these objects as parameters for, in this instance, cards, make sure you look back and see what you named them, because that's what you're going to be passing to those constructors. Just like that, we pick up 2 points, and now we're ready to move on to the next part. All right, part C. So the first part's going to be worth 6 points. The next part, 4 points. Testing your program, taking a screenshot to show the output, that is going to be worth 1 point. So if I add all this correctly, it looks like it's going to be 25 points. If I added it correctly. I mean, there's 3 types of people in this world, those who can count and those who can't. And if I added it up correctly, it should come out to 25 points. So I'm going to add it again. Let's see here. That would be 11, 13, 15, 21, 23. Yeah, 28 points. So I am one of those 3 people that can count correctly and not the other type that cannot count correctly. So let's take a look at this. The function calculate value takes a player's hand as a parameter and returns a score calculated using the following rules. If a card is red, 5 points are added to the player's score. If a card is blue, 10 points. Yellow is 15. The number of each card in the hand is added to the player's score. Write program code for the function calculate value. Assume that there are only 5 cards in the player's hand in this function. Copy and paste the program code into part 2C1. Then amend the main program by writing program code to use the function calculate value for each of the 2 players. The player with the high score wins. Output an appropriate message to identify the winning player, or if the game was a draw. Both players have the same number of points. Yes, that is what a draw is. Okay, so I want to look back at C1, right? Assume there are only 5 cards. Oh, the 4th bullet point. The number of each card in the hand is added to the player's score. So if a card is red, 5 points. Okay, that's fine. Just want to make sure we understand the directions here, because if we don't understand the corrections, we're going to get the wrong output. So let's swing over and let's code the last part of our object-oriented programming question and pick up all 25 points. All right, so we have our function calculate value. We're passing down player as the parameter. It's of the hand data type. That's referring to these players that we just did. And it's going to return an integer because this is calculating the value. It's updating their score. So we're going to do score as integer. We're going to set equal to 0. That way, each time this is called, it's reset to 0. We're going to need the color. That's going to be string because the color of the card, red, yellow, or blue, dictates part of how many points they get. And then we need the current card, and that is going to be as card because we need to know which card they have. And that refers to the index 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 that we used earlier. So we're going to do for I equals 1 to 4 because we're going to go through all cards. All 4 cards, or excuse me, all 5 cards they have. So I'm going to set this to 0, and then that will determine how many points they have. So for the current card, I need to load my current card, and all I'm going to do is player.getCard. That will load the card that we have. Now, you'll see the red line, and that's because when we use the getCard method, it needs the index. So we're doing I, which is the position, so that'll be card 0, then card 1, all the way up to card 4, which will be the 5th card. So the next thing we need to do is we need to increment the score based on the card number. So what we're going to do is we're going to do current card, because the current card also has a number, and that dictates part of their score. The next part is the color. So all we're going to do is we're going to use some color or some if statements. If color equals red, then what we're going to do is we're going to update the score by 5. Else if, here we go, else if color equals, and the next one was blue, then their score, I think that is 10 points. Let me check. Yep, it is. And then if it's not red or blue, then their score is going to equal 15, because the only color cards can be is red, blue, and yellow. So go outside my next, which is the end of my for loop, and all I'm going to do is return the score. So just like that, we have done the first part. Let's go ahead and move on to the second part where we can actually calculate the value and make sure it comes out correctly. All right, we're going to go back to our main sub. You want to put this after you dimensionalize all the cards and the players. If you write this before you do any of that, your program can crash because you're going to have some null values. So for the last part, make sure you're always putting it after you make all the objects. So what we're going to do is we're going to do player 1 score. That's going to be an integer. We need player 2 score as an integer, and with that we'll be able to calculate their score. So all we're going to do is we're going to set player 1 score equal to, and that we're going to call that calculate value. What are we passing down to calculate value? That's going to be player 1, which will run through all the code we just did, and we're going to do the same function for player 2. So all the hard part's done. All we got to do now is write some basic if statements to see if player 1 score is greater, if player 2 score is greater, or if there is a draw. So let's go ahead and let's type those if statements. If player 1 score is greater than player 2 score, then all we're going to do is we're going to output a message, player 1 wins. And you want to make sure you type the right one. Else if player 2 score is greater than player 1 score, then, and we can do console.writeLine, player 2 wins. And there's one more possibility, and that is it is a draw, which means they have the exact same score. Now what they want us to do is they want us to run the program and see, and based on the calculations here with yellow being worth a ton of points, player 2 is going to destroy player 1. Player 1 just did not get a good hand at all. Player 2 definitely has the best amount of points. I'm checking my if statements here. Yep, they all look good. So we haven't tested it yet. So we should see player 2 win. So what we're going to do is we're going to save our program. We're going to run it, and let's take a look at the output here. So we're going to run it. Okay, build succeeded. And we have exactly what we are looking for, which is player 2 wins. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to help the channel grow. We'll see you guys in the next video.